Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today in our presentation, Coaching with Self-Reflection, 2 Tools for Effective Teaching and Learning. My name is Shanu Gupta. I'm on faculty at the University of South Florida, Morzani College of Medicine, and I am joined by 2 of my colleagues today, Dr. Jennifer Caputo-Seidler and Dr. Candice Matea.
Hi, I'm Dr. Candice Matea, and I would like to start this presentation with a moment of gratitude for all of our educators. Thank you for choosing to embrace uncertainty and carrying your learners with creativity and grace.
I'm Jennifer Caputo-Seidler. We have no conflicts of interest to disclose. Our objectives for today are to discuss self-reflection as a tool for fostering lifelong learning, to introduce a self-reflection exercise, to assess learner strengths and limitations, and to introduce the GROW model of coaching to stimulate self-directed learning.
So starting off, why do we reflect? So we reflect to allow us to find ways to improve our communication, to improve our empathy for our patients, our learners, our families, to help us cope with our day-to-day stress, and to help us form a professional identity. Also, we know that reflection is a part of self-directed learning, which is clearly very important when it comes to accreditation bodies.
Self-reflection is really part of the self-regulated learning theory, which is a metacognitive process that occurs before, during, and after situations. Truly, it's an essential attribute to every healthcare professional, which we are, and that is to become masters of our own lifelong learning. Self-regulated learners use metacognitive processes to select, monitor, and evaluate their approach to a task. Primarily in getting ready to perform a task, there is a forethought phase that occurs where a learner will set some goals for achieving a particular task, and they will maybe perhaps do some strategic planning also. In terms of self-motivation, they may start to think about their own self-efficacy in regards to that task, what they might expect as outcomes of that task, and how they might value that task and what their goal orientation may be. Once performing that task, they may have strategies that they want to use in the performance of the task. They may have some guided imagery that they have used in performing that task. They may need to utilize some time management skills. They may also need to understand what their metacognitive process is during the performance of that task. Once the task is completed is where this important self-reflective phase comes in this theory. Here, the learner may want to self-evaluate how well they did during the performance of that task. They may want to understand what parts or what parts of the performance led to the success or the non-success of that task, and whether they were satisfied with themselves and their performance, and certainly what adaptive behaviors they may need to do in order to prepare for this task to be performed once again. And then as that cycle continues, they may want to adapt some of those behaviors or skill sets into their goal setting and strategy planning as well.
So here actually we have an exercise, a self-reflection exercise that I personally use when I start a clinical assignment with learners. I have them start the rotation essentially with reflection. So I use this self-assessment wheel that you see here to help facilitate their actual reflection. I have them consider a particular aspect of their practice that they would like to improve upon, such as maybe delivering bad news to a patient or maybe their efficiency in regards to discharging patients, and I have them rate themselves on this wheel. The center of the wheel would be equivalent to a 0, whereas the outer ring essentially would be a 10. They then place an X on one of the notches, kind of self-evaluating where they feel they are in these various different categories. And after they do that, when they actually have done the self-reflection on that particular area of task, I then have them continue to dive in a little bit deeper to think about other areas and aspects of their practice, such as, what do I do well? What can I do better? How can I continue improving my performance in this course? What do I need to do to make this happen? How will I know I have improved? Now it is your turn. So take a few minutes, stop this recording, and go ahead and do the self-reflection wheel for yourself. Think about an area that you are continuing trying to improve upon, and then ask yourself afterwards those questions and think about how you may improve in this area.
But how do we know that our learners really get it and that they're not just going through the motions of filling out the reflection wheel? That's where coaching comes into play and can really make this exercise impactful. And what coaching is an active conversation between two people that's focused on a specific problem. The underlying assumption of coaching is that the learner already has the solution within themselves, and that the coach's role is really to unmask that solution by asking the right questions. What coaching is not is providing counseling. It's not teaching. This is different than your role as their instructor. And it's not giving the learner the answer, as tempting as that may be. So as a coach, you want to have a framework for asking the right questions. And the GROW method is a simple tool for helping you guide that learner to their solution. GROW stands for goal, current reality, options, and way forward. So goal, have the learner define what they want. What does success look like to them? Current reality, where are they now? What have they done up until this point? And what were the outcomes of those actions? Options, what could they do from here? What support will they need to take a particular path? And what obstacles might they encounter that they should anticipate? And a way forward, you want to conclude the coaching session by having the learner commit to what action they will take and what time frame they will take it in.
So now we invite you to do a small group exercise. Stop this video again and work in threes. For those of you that have already completed the self-reflection wheel, we invite you to work as Faculty 1, Faculty 2, Faculty 3. Faculty 1 should take the time to describe their area for improvement, while Faculty 2 listens and perhaps provides some coaching back to your colleague. Faculty 3 will simply observe this interaction between coach and coachee and provide feedback to the coach on how well they did. Consider using the GROW model to help with this. Once done, you may want to think about switching those roles so that each of you gets to play coach, coachee, and observer. Once you've performed this exercise, perhaps take a minute to think and share what your experience was with this exercise. Were you surprised by what you heard from your coach, from your coachee, or even the observer that provided you feedback? And really, what did you learn from performing this exercise?
We just also want to discuss a few caveats in regards to being an evaluator and trying to fulfill that coaching position. Remember, when you are an evaluator, it's hard to just be a pure coach. For example, when I have them do that self-reflection exercise in the beginning of the rotation, I'm also evaluating as to how well they can actually reflect. That's a part of practice-based learning and improvement. Thus, this exercise could also be even used at the end of a rotation too as well, despite just even being in the, or at the end of the rotation, not just in the beginning, so you could see how they're doing in their overall assessment. Just be cognizant of what hat you are wearing. As an evaluator, you're always an assessor. So even when you are trying to coach them, they're going to feel as if they're also being assessed during that time. This is a bit different of a true life coach type of a situation, where a life coach doesn't necessarily have any expertise in the particular area that the person is trying to grow in. They're just there as the expert to guide them to finding the correct solution. When we're evaluators, we're always evaluators as well as coaches.
So now what? Please take a moment to think about how might you use what you have learned today with your learners. To summarize, you have learned a way to help your learners run through self-reflection. You have also learned the importance of self-reflection in self-regulated learning theory. And finally, you have learned a way to help coach your learners using the GROW model.
If you have any questions or any feedback on what we've presented today, please reach out to us. Our emails and Twitter handles are on the screen, and thank you for your time and attention.